Now let's talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He has been arrested by ICE officials, and just to recap, the DOJ says that he is a member of the El Salvadorian gang MS-13. He entered the United States illegally. He's also been accused by his wife, I should say, of beating her in the past. Now, the left have kind of painted him as this hard-working Maryland father. Now, he was set to be deported again, this time to Uganda, but a federal judge has blocked this. Just quickly before I get your take on this, Emily, the Democrats, they just love singing when they attend a protest, and they've been out wearing pink this time, singing as loud as they could, demanding the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Look at this.
Kilmar is our neighbor. You can't have him, Trump. No! Kilmar is our neighbor. You can't have him, Trump.
Yeah, I'm actually lost for words. I don't even know what to make of that kind of protest. But Emily, this case has been drawn out. It's been a bit of a flashpoint for the Trump administration. What's your take on the developments so far and what's likely to happen here?
I mean, that video would be offensive if it weren't so hilarious.
Yeah.
That is just a great flavor of some of these protests. But there are, I think, some legitimate process concerns about Kilmar Abrego Garcia first ending up in El Salvador's CICOT detention center. That said, there's a difference between saying maybe the Trump administration made a mistake, which the administration actually admitted at one point in the legal process. Maybe the Trump administration made a mistake. That's one thing. But to then lionize Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who has been accused by his wife, as you mentioned, of spousal abuse and also of human trafficking, and who entered the country illegally and then cooked up a very flimsy asylum case. I mean, actually, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is the poster boy for the type of person who the Trump administration is looking to deport, and even a type of person that most Americans would tell you, yes, probably should be deported. He is the poster boy. And the fact that there are so many people, I think, on the far left that are not just saying, okay, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, some legal mistakes were made. They're saying this man is a martyr. Even some mainstream Democratic senators like Chris Van Hollen of Maryland are lionizing and martyrizing Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And that is so completely out of touch with where most of the country is. And it's immoral, too.
Yeah, it's completely insane. Look, I want to talk to you about Gavin Newsom's cringe social media strategy. I think it's backfiring. I mean, he clearly wants to be the next president of the United States, but his social media strategy is just bizarre. He's trying to mimic Donald Trump. He's also selling merchandise with caps that say Newsom was right about everything, which is a bit of a joke. T-shirts that say Trump is not hot. You know, I think he should really be coming up with a better way to communicate than that. But you've even got Democrats, such as former DNC chair Donna Brazile, slamming Gavin Newsom for this strategy. Of course, his podcast is still up and running. And in his latest episode, he interviewed Democrat spokeswoman Jasmine Crockett. Listen to what she had to say.
And to be clear, you can wave all the flags you want to, but I am telling you right now that the most unpatriotic people that we have in this country are MAGA and this president. We are the real patriots, and it is time for us to take our flag back.
Emily, after the election last year, Gavin Newsom said that he wanted to learn where the Democrats, where they went wrong. And he spoke about essentially wanting to potentially win people back over. But this social media strategy of his and the podcast that he has, I don't think that's the way to do it. It also comes at a time while Democrats are facing a massive voter registration crisis.
Yeah, a huge voter registration crisis. They are now in quite a hole, as the New York Times documented last week. I totally had the same instinct as you, and I put that question to a Republican strategist I know last week, what is he doing? And the person made a really good point and said, basically, he's cleaning up in fundraising and name recognition. So for the early shadow Democratic presidential primary that's going on right now, which, by the way, is not Gavin Newsom's full-time job. He is, of course, the governor of one of the largest economies in the entire world. But he's also podcasting and, overseeing this weird social media campaign. That is something that may actually help him start getting donors and email lists and name recognition with Democratic primary voters. Now, of course, that's not what most people in California would say they want their governor to be doing right now. And it's not a winning strategy in a general election, that's for sure. If Gavin Newsom were running like this in 2028, if he secured the Democratic primary against someone like J.D. Vance, it would not be working for Gavin Newsom. But now if he's looking to just get his name out there, I guess no press is bad press for Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, I think he needs to go back to running California. I think California needs a lot of help, especially after those fires at the start of the year. The unemployment numbers are crazy. You've got the homelessness crisis. There are so many issues in California that I think Gavin Newsom should get back to work as opposed to hosting this podcast. But hey, let's keep following what he does. Finally, Hollywood star Chris Pratt has blasted these far-left lunatics who hate Donald Trump so much that they cannot celebrate any of his achievements. Listen to this.
I'd hate to be so mired in hatred for the president that any success from his administration is something I'd have an allergic reaction to. To be like, oh, well, if they do it, I don't want it to happen. I'll put Clorox in my children's cereal myself. It's like, come on, be reasonable here. There's certain things that would be a good thing to have. I want them all to be successful.
He makes a good point, because that's what we're seeing at the moment. The Democrats are fighting anything Donald Trump does, even if it's good for the country.
Yeah, Chris Pratt would know. He married into the Kennedy family and probably gets his dose of that at family meals and Thanksgiving and holidays and such, where, even Robert F. Kennedy Jr., someone who has family, New York Magazine has a profile out right now on why the Kennedys have been so averse to celebrating legitimate wins by someone who is actually a member of their own family. And it's not just them, of course. That's illustrative of a broader problem on the left. And it didn't just come with Donald Trump. This is a problem that Americans had been dealing with as polarization increased in the last 10 to 20 years before Trump even. And hey, I mean, Trump just poured gasoline on the fire. We all got to see very clearly that the left was no longer able to celebrate the wins of the right if they happen. And even if, by the way, Donald Trump is not a typical Republican, even if they're the types of things that Democrats talked about for a very long time, even if they're actual ideological strains from the left, the left won't celebrate it anymore. So it's a strange time in America, that's for sure.
Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party with Emily Jashinsky on MK Media. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.